Good evening, I'm Adventure Argonaut. This is the golden news. The news for the blues, whatever. Let's just see that the streams are all up. Yes, Kick and Twitch look fine. How is Rumble? Rumble looks to be rumbling. And Party is partying. Yes, okay. Everything looks hunky dory. Okay, so let's move on to the next. The first story. Well, it is the next story if it's the first. Here, okay, so 4chan was hacked. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but I heard about it just a few hours ago. And supposedly, like the janitors emails were leaked. Yeah, their emails were like their addresses and emails and stuff were leaked. And I don't know so far much about like the details, what sort of stuff we were talking about, and all that. And right now, 4chan doesn't seem to be working. But let's have a look at some of the stuff here. So yeah, 4chan has been hacked. Hacker reopens QA and leaked all admins' emails. Okay. Okay. And yeah, 4chan got hacked and now everyone is doxing their Chinese. LMFAO. It's a reckoning too long have gamers been oppressed. A sad day when Redditors are laughing at you. Rest in peace to the 6 million janitors who perished in the following hack. Jesus Christ, they're posting Johnny home addresses and work contact info. Okay, whatever. And yeah, Johnny is actually using .edu and .gov accounts on 4chan. You can't be serious. So their emails supposedly are, many of them and .edu. So I guess they're like, university or some other education or government. So does it mean that they actually, some of the Chinese actually do work for the US government or some other governments? So is that their like real job? I don't know. It's too early to say anything for sure yet. At least I don't know like anything too concrete yet, except that the hack does appear to be real. But I don't know what sort of details have been leaked or will be leaked, and does it mean that 4chan is gonna die, or are they just gonna, I don't know, shuffle around some Jannies and make things different? Make things slightly different, but they will still stay mostly the same. I don't know. Well, we will see. And then let's go to the next story. So no white cops in UK. They don't want to hire any more um, white people as cops there because, of course, not because it's UK. More UK tyranny. So yeah, I want to discriminate against white candidates, says police chief. A chief constable accused of racist recruitment policy supports law change to bolster ethnic minority numbers. A chief constable accused of having racist recruitment policy has said he wants discrimination against white British candidates to be legal. Chief Constable John Robbins, the head of West Yorkshire Police, said the law should be changed in order to boost the number of ethnic minorities in his force across the country. It comes as the force faces backlash for putting a temporary block on the hiring of white candidates, a move that could potentially amount to positive discrimination, which is currently illegal in England and Wales, so not in Scotland, I guess. How is it positive discrimination? Like, I don't know. Sounds very just, old school discrimination. That's quite negative. um, But I've seen a few different people comment on this on YouTube and stuff, and they, at least the ones I've seen, they've missed the obvious that they want, if they want to replace the police force in the UK with basically foreigners of different ethnicity than the majority of the locals. It's, of course, if they want to you know execute Order 66 on the local populace, and it's much easier for to use foreigners to get them to act violently against the unwilling public than the locals. Like this, usually people are more likely to get a bit um, violent, or just brutal against those who are different than themselves. But yeah, here is a video showing that the police are abusing. They're just quite harshly treating. They look to be British, ethnically. And here Morgoth comments that British policing when the Equality Act does not protect you. Exactly. Like I've been saying about this, that it seems to be that when the criminals are of certain ethnicities, they are being protected not only in UK but in generally in the West. They're being protected by the authorities, but if the locals, the white locals, are doing something, or are at least accused or perceived of doing something naughty, then yeah, the full force of the law is brought upon them. And this is from Germany. It's just put it here because it's sort of similar. So a group pushes 15-year-old boy to his death from a high-rise building in Hamburg, Germany. 4 Syrian men and an Iraqi woman were detained, the police say. So, uh, like, okay, it doesn't say here necessarily that the 15-year-old boy was a local ethnic German, but at least it looks like this is sort of the agenda. That's what they want with the to do similar stuff. If that is the case, that this is local guy, then they want to replace the police force with foreigners because it's much easier to act very dystopian against the local populace. And just to point out this, the Carmelo Anthony, who allegedly killed the Austin Metcalf, the 17-year-old white guy, stabbed him, and he's got $400,000 in donations and he's gonna buy a new a home and hire security. So yeah, it sounds like a grift. You murder somebody allegedly, and then you just get paid. And if I recall correctly, when Kyle Rittenhouse, when his trial was still pending and all that, some of these aid websites that you can use to donate people money, they shut down donations to Kyle Rittenhouse because of course he was the wrong ethnicity. And you here Kang Min Lee says, or E Kang Min says that BLM has always meant buy large mansions. I guess it applies when a black teen kills another teenager too. Yeah. And yeah, then this is just to BitChute, the sort of indie version of YouTube. I haven't actually. I've forgotten it. The website still exists, but I used to use it many years ago, a bit. But when I saw this news, so anyways, and I think it's originally from UK, or like the founder is from UK, but the last I heard, it was like the servers were in Thailand or something. But anyways, it's gonna quit in UK. Free speech video platform BitChute has had to totally discontinue its service in the UK due to Online Safety Act. What does it say here? To our valued users in the United Kingdom, after careful review and ongoing evaluation of the regularity landscape in the United Kingdom, we regret to inform you that BitChute will be discontinuing its video sharing service for UK residents. The introduction of the UK Online Safety Act of 2023 has brought about significant changes in the regulatory framework governing online content and community interactions. Notably, the Act contains sweeping provisions and onerous corrective measures with respect to content moderation and enforcement. In particular, the broad enforcement powers granted to the regulator of communication services, Ofcom, have raised concerns regarding the open-ended and unpredictable nature of regulatory compliance for our platform. The BitChute platform has always operated on principles of freedom of speech, expression, and association, and strive to foster an open and inclusive environment for content creators and audiences alike. However, the evolving regulatory pressures, including strict enforcement mechanisms and potential liabilities, have created an operational landscape in which continuing to serve the US market exposes our company to unacceptable legal and compliance risks. Despite our best efforts to navigate these challenges, the uncertainty surrounding the OSA's enforcement by Ofcom and its far-reaching implications leaves us no viable alternative but to cease normal operations in the UK. So yeah, this is just part and parcel of living in UK in current year, isn't it? Like just wondering what are not to say that most of the Western world isn't fucked, but UK seems to be number one in tyranny and oppression and just being batshit insane. And I'm just wondering, like, what are the people doing? Like, are they actually doing something to hopefully turn the country around, or or are they just sitting on their asses and twiddling their thumbs and or what? Because a regime change would be nice in UK, like a drastic one, not just between Tory and Labour, but something actual proper regime change. And what's next? Oh yeah, then let's go to the next bit. So latest Trump's exploits and some of the things he's done and said in the past week. A dead ringer for him, right? This picture. So yeah, asked about deporting U.S. citizens to foreign prisons, Trump says he's all for it. We're studying the laws right now, pan bonding, studying if we can do that. That's good. Of course, maybe this is a bit facetious or something, like it's sort of leaving some stuff out. But let's have a listen.
That you're open to deporting individuals that aren't foreign aliens but are criminals to El Salvador.
Why can't I hear anything?
Include potentially U.S. citizens fully? You mentioned that you're open to deporting individuals that aren't foreign aliens but are criminals to El Salvador. Does that include potentially U.S. citizens, fully naturalized Americans?
If they're criminals and if they hit people with baseball bats over their head that happen to be 90 years old, and if they rape 87-year-old women in Coney Island, Brooklyn, yeah, that includes them. What do you think? There's a special category of person? They're as bad as anybody that comes in. We have bad ones too, and I'm all for it because we can do things with the president for less money and have great security. And we have a huge prison population. We have a huge.
Okay. He's asked, like, about deporting the U.S. citizens to foreign prisons, and he says, like, if the violent people who attacked old people with baseball bats, basically, and it's like, yeah, okay, that's I can't really disagree with the idea. If somebody does something really heinous like that, that's I guess reasonable. However, I I don't think that sending the criminals to different countries isn't really the solution. How about just use capital punishment in that case. So yeah, it's sort of uh, still a weird idea. Like, of course, this is just talk. This isn't necessarily anything, policy or anything like that. But then there's this. So Trump FDA has granted fast track designation for a self-amplifying mRNA vaccine candidate against the H5N1 bird flu. So yeah, that you know, if Trump wasn't just, I don't know, fucking around, he should ban mRNA vaccines. That's my opinion on the matter. But of course, he's not going to do that because he's still proud of the Operation Warp Speed and all that stuff, which I am not a fan. And here, Thomas Massey is railing against the real ID that they're gonna, I guess, try to enact. So yeah, it's a real ID is a 2005 George Bush era Patriot Act overreach that went completely unenforced until Trump got into office. Let me guess, he's playing 4D chess, and I should just go along with it. Uh, so yeah, it's sort of I don't know like what is like what are the main concerns with people with real idea, but of course they there's some people have privacy concerns and stuff like that with the real ID stuff. And yeah, so real ID announcement receives wave of pushback on X. In 2005, President George Bush signed the real ID into law. It was ordered by Representative James Sensenbrenner, or Wisconsin, I think, the same author of the Patriot Act. So yeah, if it's part of Patriot Act, it cannot be good. So that's yeah, I'm gonna trust Massey on this that the real ID is not a good thing. And yeah, if Obama or Biden didn't put it into effect, why is Trump's administration doing it now, or why didn't Trump's administration do it like 5 years ago? I don't know. But yeah, here it says that Trump has announced the criticism of Israel now makes you ineligible for U.S. citizenship. And yeah, didn't he like deport some foreigners who criticized Israel? And here this guy Khaled Soliman says that be anti-American, be anti-white, be here illegally, have destructive views, unknown criminal history, or fine, but criticize Israel or Jews and you're banned. Although this affects immigrants, the sentiment applies to all Americans. Trump is a puppet, Jews control him, it's not complicated. It's hard to disagree with the guy on this one because it's like this certain minority seems to have like this uh, these privileges that they're very protected for like some curious reason, like why isn't um, Finland or South Korea or whatever, why don't they have all these protections and special privileges for these countries and ethnicities? But yeah. Hey, hi, Naughty in the chat. I'm proud to, and then there's this. I'm proud to, Trump says, I'm proud to nominate Yehuda Kaplan as the United States Special Envoy to monitor and combat anti Semitism ambassador at large. Yehuda is a successful businessman and staunch advocate for the Jewish faith and the rights of his people to live and worship free from persecution. But Christians or Buddhists or whatever, they can be persecuted, right? With anti-Semitism dangerously on the rise, I wonder why. Yehuda will be the strongest representative for Americans and Jews across the globe and promote peace. Congratulations, Yehuda. Yeah, I don't know, like why? Unless it's unless this guy is wrong about his claim that Trump is a puppet and Jews control him. Like why is this stuff constantly happening? And yeah, this is, well, China has cut the number of American films allowed in the country in response to Trump's latest tariffs. Well, I think that's a victory for all sides. If less Hollywood movies are going to be shown in China, both US and China win there. So kudos to Trump for that, I guess. And of course, the Trump and Xi Jinping seem to be in some sort of, raising tariff war. That's also some sort of funny and based. So yeah, Pfizer abandons weight loss pill after a liver injury in major setback. Just, this isn't directly related to Trump, but he's praised the Pfizer CEO in the past, I believe. And but hey, at least it's nice that that Pfizer isn't able to cover up their mistakes, the dangers of this pill. That's I guess a very positive sign. And but yeah, there's this director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, says RFK and MLK files will be released within days. Good. How about the Epstein files? What was going on with them? Like, yeah, can we get the Epstein list? Best I can do is deport you if you criticize Israel. Yeah, basically. Because I still wonder about the JFK files. Like, is that really all of it? Well, maybe there's something missing. Anyways, let's move on. So yeah, Ghislaine Maxwell trying to get out of jail. Of course, she's or was Epstein's. I don't know if she was wife or girlfriend and accomplice. She was sent to jail, and now Ghislaine Maxwell is asking for the Supreme Court to overturn her sex trafficking conviction for crimes tied to Jeffrey Epstein. Well, I guess that would be fair, since Jeffrey Epstein trafficked all those children to absolutely nobody. So I guess I mean, she's innocent. I guess she didn't traffic them to anybody either, right? But yeah, seriously speaking, I have to remind you that as usual, the you should assume that pretty much any politician who refuses to tackle this issue is somehow compromised by the blackmail that Jeffrey Epstein or his cohorts have on them, and that's why they're not really talking about Epstein or wanting to make the files public and the client lists and all that stuff. I guess let's go to the next story already. So Israel del Daesh, Israel has to be destroyed, and here's some evidence or some reasons why I do believe that. So first, this one: Israeli settlers poisoned the beehives of farmer in the Farsh al-Hawa area of Hebron, Al-Khalil city in the southern West Bank. The same tactic is also used by Israelis to target sheep and cattle owned by Palestinian farmers. So they poisoned beehives. Of course, I guess you have to take this with a grain of salt. Like, how do we know that it was necessarily the Israelis? Like, it sounds credible, but there's possibilities. It's not. But anyways, it reminded me of something when I saw the story of Kefka from Final Fantasy VI. Nothing beats the sweet music of hundreds of voices screaming in unison, and this is when he poisoned the well of some city under siege, and everybody died, and or at least most people. So yeah, that's what I was reminded of. Um, Seeing this story, but let's see more why Israel del Daesh. So yeah, to all so this is from the White House, their tweet: to all the Jewish families gathering with friends and loved ones this week, have a blessed Passover, and may God continue to watch over the Jewish people, the state of Israel, and the United States of America. President Donald J. Trump and Congressman Randy Fine says, "Thank you, Mr. President. American Jews and the state of Israel have never had a better friend in the White House." So yeah, how about Finland? Come on, we're part of NATO and all that. Why don't we get, I don't know, special privileges, or Korea, or whatever, like Bulgaria? Like, come on, surely Bulgaria should have own, like, half of the, or one third of the U.S. congressmen and women should be dual citizens of Bulgaria and United States. Like, it would only be fair, right? For some reason, Israel has this unique position, and I'm sure blackmail or anything like that, or extortion or threats, have nothing to do with it. And here, the foundering, the musician guy says, so Epstein list, no. COVID accountability, no. Deep state arrest, no. Mass deportations, no. Butler PA investigation. Wait, is this the shooting or the assassination attempt? Yeah, I think that was it. Free energy and exotic tech disclosure, no. Real ID travel, yes. Anti-Semitism laws, yes. $1 trillion Pentagon budget, yes. Funding causing genocide, yes. Primary massy, yes. MIGA, yes. Make Israel great again. Yeah, this is like, Trump has done some good things in his second term, certainly, but overall, it's not heading in a good direction. Yeah, this is just the same stuff. Yeah. So Trump delivered the Passover message to Jewish people. May God continue to watch over Jewish people. Blah blah blah. So yeah, and this. So yeah, happening. U.S. officials will screen immigrants' social media accounts for anti-Semitic content as grounds for denying immigration benefit requests. The Trump administration announced in a policy that immediately went into effect Wednesday. So yeah, anti-Semitism. Yeah, you cannot get immigration benefit, whatever, but um, uh, you can be hateful towards white people, or I guess, well, Indians too, or Chinese, or Bulgarians, Estonians. Some reason, anti-Semitism, that this group of people have this specific term that's not really 100% applicable, that it's been invented for people who have issues with them, because not all not all Jews are Semitic, and not all Semites are Jews. So it's not a very good term, even in that sense. It's not very accurate. And there's this. So yeah, somebody said, never forgive the Bolsheviks for what they did to the Romanov family. The Russian royal family. And James Woods, the actor, says, never forget the Bolsheviks for anything. Communism is the cancer of humanity. I guess is part of the cancer of humanity. And then Chris Langan, this supposed, smartest guy on earth. Like, I do think he's a smart guy and stuff, but I have my doubts about, that he supposedly has the highest IQ or something. So I, I have my doubts. I'm very skeptical of the notion that you can measure intelligence in real life, and in the same way you can in a role playing game or something. But anyways, he says that's right as far as it goes. However, the Bolsheviks were given the $20 million they needed to kick off the Russian Revolution by the New York bankster Jacob Schiff, a fast friend of Leon Trotsky, and the original Soviet Politburo was largely staffed by Jewish Brooklynites. What about them? Who do you think has been pushing communism in the United States all these years? Lenin's ghost? Come on now. Yeah, it's like, these people like James who was like, yeah, wokeness bad, communism bad, but they don't really look at the root causes, like who has been pushing this sort of stuff for decades, if not longer. And here's this British homosexual Douglas Murray says it's conceivable that 15 million Christians or Muslims will be killed. He then claims if 15 million Jews died, Western civilization would end and no one would survive. I don't really want to play it. I give a summary, and yeah, there was some. I'd never even heard about this guy before, but he had some debate with some other Jew or homosexual or whatever, supposed right wing figureheads or whatever. But yeah, he says like it's bad if 15 million Christians or Muslims will die. It's tragedy and but whatever, like life will go on. But like if 15 million Jews die, then Western civilization will end. It's the ultimate tragedy, and it's like well, I guess Western civilization in its current form would end, but perhaps there would be some improvements if that would happen, but yeah, not gonna say anymore. I don't want to get into trouble. And yeah, then this Israeli cyber CEO Itay Levy, I don't know, Itay Levy was arrested for sexually abusing at least 5 children under the age of 4. I think there was also like lots of child porn or something being found in his home or something. And just look at this creepy guy and hey, Agent Double Hertz, welcome, welcome. I was wondering where you were, and just saw this. Somebody asked Grok, the AI, the age of consent in Talmud, number only 3. Okay, that's sort of disturbing, but of course, it might leave out some important context, but still, it is interesting. Interesting results. Okay, but that's part of the end of for this section. Let's move on to gaming and entertainment news. So let's see. The first story. So feminist groups call for total ban on etchi. So total ban on etching. It's not art. It's just soft core. Activist pressure streaming services to remove fan service focused anime. Okay, so how do they define it and all that stuff? But it's like the most curious part here is that they say it's softcore, so they're implying it's porn, and so feminists now think that porn is bad because I thought feminists thought that OnlyFans and is stunning and brave and sex work is real work, so that's all fine, but cartoon images with some degree of lewdness, that's too much. So porn is bad now, like that's what I hate about the all this porn debate stuff is that I guess it's so juvenile. Like people are taking these pot shots without actually explaining because I think both arguments have merit. Banning porn and then allowing it. Banning is because it can have harmful effects. Especially, I think actual porn with real people doing the stuff. I think is much harmful for the actors because if you just look at cartoon images, you are basically the only victim, and it's different. But then again, it's freedom of expression and stuff. So, and of course, the and where do you draw the line? What constitutes as porn and what is just a little bit erotica or whatever? Like when are you don't want to go um, too ban-hammery and stuff like that, or then you're gonna be banning anything that woman shows her ankles. Oh my god, that's porn, and then it's gonna be banned. That's a bit too far as well. But somebody who has a good definition of what sort of porn or lewdness is too far, I'd like to hear like a suggestion instead of just making these arbitrary statements. And this is of course the true reason why they are against fan service, because it is sort of something that caters to healthy heterosexual men, and that is of course bad according to feminism. Well, both it despises men and women both, and their normal sexual impulses, they are deemed bad according to feminism. Only sex with bears is okay in Baldur's Gate 3 and all that stuff, or like the Last of Us 2 Abby horrible sex scene. That's fine. That's stunning and brave. But anime girls having big boobs and I don't know, showing maybe nipple or something here, that's too far for them, because that's what normal people find, or some normal people find attractive, at least. Anyways, then even the creators of one of the best tabletop games of all time are worried for their survival because of tariffs. So Gloomhaven is this, board game, or I don't know, series of board games. It's sort of like something between Dungeons and Dragons and a board game. I believe I haven't played it. I do occasionally play board games, but I also like prefer tabletop role playing games, and that's one reason why I haven't played Gloomhaven, even though it seems interesting. But like, is if I'm gonna play a board game like this, I'd rather just play an actual RPG. But anyway, so because of the U.S. tariffs, the going up and stuff, and I think they're manufacturing their stuff in China, because that's basically the only place where they can manufacture their components for the games. So now the so yeah, it's facing 104% manufacturing cost increase due to the tariffs, and it might mean that the companies, I don't know, they cannot anymore produce the games, or go bankrupt, or I don't know what. And that's of course unfortunate, but it's sort of like you can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs, and or you're gonna have, in war you're gonna have casualties. In that sense, is I maybe this could be handled better, so companies like this don't suffer from the tariffs, like maybe it's all moving too fast or something like that. But then again, like, just the idea that basically the Western world doesn't produce anything anymore nowadays is insane. And if this tariffs force America and hopefully Europe to actually start producing stuff again, that's good in the end, even though if it's gonna hurt uh, board game developers like these. Like, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but it's just it should be common sense. Well, especially to producing stuff that is actually necessary. Like that's something I figured when I was a teenager, that basically every region, like a province or whatever geographical unit within a country, should be somewhat self-sufficient. That they could, like, let's say there's some huge war or huge earthquake or whatever, that that region could at least provide food and some, I don't know, basic shelter and stuff like that. Like, maybe they won't even have electricity, but at least they could live for for a few months before aid comes from somewhere else. That's how you should organize society if we lived in a sane world. But of course we don't, because we want, for some curious reason, for several decades, all the Western politicians and the people with money have wanted to make China the producer of everything basically, and that of course doesn't make any sense. Yeah, let's move on. So yeah, so there's some game, No Mercy, that was um, like pulled from Steam. Like the developers pulled it from Steam. It's some porn game, which has some rough stuff apparently, and like the feminist complained, and then it was pulled from Steam. And this is also like, it's arbitrary, because I'm I haven't played it, I don't know much about it, but I'm just gonna say that I question that it's the most disturbing or violent porn game on Steam. There's bunch of porn games there, but for whatever reason, this caught the attention of certain people, and now they complained about it. Like, I guess the developers, even though it's not on Steam, I think it's on some other platform, so people will probably go buy it just to because they don't like the feminists and stuff. But it's like once again the porn stuff. Like I remember once upon a time, porn wasn't allowed on Steam, and you could argue things were better. But I just like fair enforcement, like clear rules, like what is allowed and what is not allowed. And of course, Steam didn't ban this game themselves. I think it was the developers themselves that did it. But still, clear rules. Like I'd respect Steam or any other platform if they made a clear policy and explaining, or even if government was ban porn or allow porn, make a clear statement like, okay, this is what we are going to allow, this is and this is, or this is what we're going to ban, and this is why. But it's usually very arbitrary. Like there was the shooter game Hatred, like almost a decade ago, and there was controversy, and I think it was banned on Steam for a little while, and then it was allowed back on. And it's just it was basically Psycho going killing people, sort of like Postal, but apparently crappier. Like it's supposedly very crappy game. Anyways, I haven't played it, but it was banned because somebody thought it was too much. But many other games have similar stuff. And yeah, here is pointing out that 62% of women have rape fantasies. So yeah, and if this game has grape, then why is that bad? Like 50 Shades of Grey is sort of it's just made for the female audience, not for the male audience. I guess that's the problem there. Yeah, okay. After being blocked in 3 countries, okay, uh, Australia, Canada, UK, no mercy is being withdrawn. Okay, so it was blocked in some countries. We don't. Okay, the developer said we don't intend to fight the whole world, and specifically, we don't want to cause any problems for Steam and Valve. They do a great job and are incredibly helpful. Okay. Uh, like, yeah, I'd rather see an adult way of banning porn instead of this stabby psycho uh, pearl clutching women kind of way of doing it, which is very arbitrary, of course. Anyways, and now the crew, the driving game from Ubisoft is inaccessible, and the physical copy is useless because it's online only. And the Ubisoft's response in the lawsuit complaint is you should have been comfortable with not owning your games. As always, Ubisoft investors and owners should start getting comfortable not owning their company. Exactly. Like, this is why you really can't hate Ubisoft enough. I don't hate them enough. I admit it. I've hated them for a long time, but since they started, if it has become more mainstream to hate them, it's like, okay, I don't have so much hatred for them because other people are carrying the hatred for me. But yes, they are, uh, I don't know, a very despicable company. So yeah, here's Accursed Farms, the Ross game dungeon that who is doing the Stop Killing Games movement, basically trying to force legislators to force um, so they force developers and publishers that if you buy a game that you can theoretically play it 100 years from now. So, anyways, Ubisoft made a statement on the true US lawsuit. We are not involved with that, saying there's no deception since you own nothing. That logic will probably hold in the USA, but those terms could also run afoul of Directive 93/13 slash EEC in EU countries. Okay, I don't know what that is, but I guess that's good. If EU manages actually to punish Ubisoft for this, that's good. I hate the EU, but Sometimes they do something good accidentally, I would assume. And yeah, as this guy saying, focus on the idea to counter the argument you can't expect them to keep the servers up forever. Yes, you can, because the consumers are not the ones who that decided the game needed servers to run. Yeah, the company was. They took on that responsibility and thus that commitment themselves. Yeah, because back in the 90s, nobody really, maybe for some, for the early MMOs, they assumed that their company should run the servers. But I think, like, Ultima Online, if the company back then ran the servers, I think nowadays there are, like, regular people have the capability of running their own servers if they want to play it with their, small clique of friends or whatever. So yeah, the games don't have to lock you out of the game if you don't have internet. If it's not like, this is a single player game, I believe. Like, probably had, well, now it's not a game anymore, but I think probably had a multiplayer option, but it was still a single player game, and of course online only, and now it's dead. So yeah, product stolen. Like, this is actual theft instead of piracy, because piracy makes a copy. But anyways, Marathon won't have proxy. So there's this new game, Marathon. Maybe should have a look at this first. Very briefly. Yeah, so this is like the new Bungie game, or like remake. Wasn't Marathon like, Bungie is famous for the Halo series. Never really got into it. Only plays Halo on, like, friends Xbox for multiplayer, and didn't really like it because playing a first person shooter on a joypad is hell. But maybe if I played it, was to play it on PC, it might be better. Anyways, so yeah, it looks very blah. People are comparing it to Concord, and just look at what the fuck is this? Like, this is like, yeah, whatever. But this is just like, ugh, like vomit. And just look at those fat thighs, and I don't know, it's horrible. Um, but yeah, so, and Marathon, wasn't it before Halo? They had, like, Bungie had made this like their first game or something, and now there's a remake for some reason. And so anyway, it won't have proximity chat because it'd be way too toxic. I don't think anyone has a good solution to that just yet. So yeah, it's not that they don't have the technology to make proximity chat, but people might speak freely, be rude or something. So yeah, of course we have to ban it, like, part and parcel in current year gaming, I guess. And this riveting art style Marathon has going for it. Like, my reaction was, this is this Garry's mod. It looks like Garry's mod. Like, just the color of the floor and everything. It just looks like, it doesn't look real in any sense. And and games are supposed to try to have a very similitude, to give you the impression that it's real. But this is like, come on, man, just looks so like a mod basically. And here's so yeah, former Firewalk slash Concord dev talks Marathon. So hey, all former Firewalk Studios dev here. I have been a long time lurker for many years, rarely post to Reddit, blah blah blah. So after reading the comments about Marathon being Concord 2.0 on Reddit, YouTube, tweets, I just wanted to share a little insight into what a 40-year-old man is feeling after dedicating a large portion of his life to making video games. For the past 17 years, I have been part of some great projects, worked with some of the most talented people who made me the dev I am today. Many players know about Concord and what happened with that project. Concord failed to inspire players, and the messages was heard loud and clear. It was gut-wrenching see our project fail and be the laughingstock of many online. Yeah, it was fun. It was funny. I have learned that failure is what drives me to succeed. No one feels as bad as the people who put their time on the line, hoping it will entertain the masses of gamers across the globe. I'm not asking for pity or even sympathy because, after all, this is the name of the game. You will lose. The margin for success is very thin. I took a chance and lost. Some of you probably smell blood in the water and probably want to roast me for no longer lurking and exposing myself. I hope you don't, and see that people create these projects and work very hard to be blah 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 blah. How about working well, producing good results? Like it doesn't, it's not value. Like, even if you work really hard but you have no skill, you don't have any, ability to assess the quality of your product. Like, if you bake a cake, you can say you bake a cake for 5 hours in the oven, and it's like, oh, I bake a cake for 5 hours, should be good. But yeah, it's burned. You get, it only had to be there for an hour. So that, sometimes the more effort you give, doesn't make it better. Anyways, blah blah blah. Excitement. What is to come for a marathon? So I commend them for taking a chance, trying something foreign to them that isn't proven or guaranteed to success. It takes a lot of courage. It's like, no, well, maybe it takes a lot of courage because nowadays anybody who isn't completely out of the loop knows that nobody really likes this woke garbage. But they're not like, they're not going out on a limb trying to do something new. They're taking an old IP and ruining it. Some IP that some people actually liked. Um, TLDR, I worked on Concord, did my best, we came up short. Please don't punish others for our mistakes. We're all human beings who are trying to create something special. Marathon is no different. How do you know? Maybe they're just trying to ruin something somebody liked. You're not working on Marathon, you don't know. Be kind and be cool, as video games are meant to be fun. Yeah, but nowadays video games like Marathon and Concord aren't fun. The only fun part about them is, making fun of the people, either making them or shilling for them. So yeah, that's the only entertainment. Like, watching Ubisoft burn to the ground is the only pleasure and entertainment that Ubisoft can provide for gamers right now. So same, I presume, applies to Marathon. Like, of course, the game isn't out. It's theoretically possible that it's actually decent. Very unlikely, but theoretically possible. And okay, Nintendo confirms $90 price tag for full Breath of the Wild Switch 2 experience as DLC, not included in upgraded edition. So yeah, this game, when did it come out? 2017, 18, something like that. So it's almost 10 years old, and have to pay more than a full price. Well, I guess it's maybe cheaper than Breath of the Wild and all the DLC. Like, I have Breath of the Wild, but no DLC for it for my Switch. But I haven't even like finished the game. Like, it was okay, but it's too generic and bland for me, so it didn't really hook me into finishing the game. At some point, I just got bored. Like, sometimes I think I should finish it, but I have better stuff to do. Anyways, Nintendo quietly confirms Switch 2 GameCube controller can only be used with premium subscription GameCube Classics. Well, this is just bullshit. Like, I have also a Wii, and it has GameCube ports, and you can use it. Well, not for every game because Wii has the motion control crap. So of course, if the game requires motion control, you can't use the GameCube controller, but you can use it for quite a many of the games on the Wii. So this is just, and I wonder, like, does it mean like you can use just a regular GameCube controller, like if you have like a 20-year-old GameCube controller, does it function on Switch 2, or is it like a remake with a USB plug instead of the old plug? But if it's only certain GameCube classics, no, that just sucks ass. Anyways, and Star Citizen has raised over $800 million through crowdfunding in 13 years. No release date. So yeah, I remember when this sort of came out and it looked interesting, and it's like, okay, let's see in a couple of years when it's out if it's actually good, but it's still not out, and they're just making money. And this is because there are some whales, like the reason why it's made so much money, because there are some whales with too much money and time, and I guess they want to live in, this space, fantasy game and stuff. So they just keep giving them money so they can indulge in their escapism. And seeing stuff like this just makes me want to support communism, because communism, proper communism, ensures that everybody's poor. So if these people have so much extra money that they can just throw it away to crap like this, then like, yeah, why wouldn't I be spiteful against them? That Yeah, Mr. Obvious here says 800 million. They could have built a rocket and sent us to space to be real star citizens with that kind of money. What the fuck? Give me even extra. Give me even $8 for heaven's sake. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's insane how much money is being wasted on all sorts of pointless crap in entertainment industries nowadays. And of course, Concord is the foremost example of that they spent about 400, so only half. No, it was 40,000 million for 40 million for, what was it? I don't even fucking, I'm going, the numbers are too big for my brain. But anyways, it was, I guess it was still hundreds of 400 million, maybe. Yeah, maybe it was 400 million that they just wasted on Concord. And if they fucking hired me to run the studio, and I don't know anything about game development, but I'm pretty sure that I could have managed to manage a better game than them, because at least I have some idea what makes a decent game and what doesn't. And I just can look at the results of the developers I would hire, that okay, this is a bad idea, don't do that, do that. I'm pretty sure I could do a better job than the Concord people, because I'm not insane like them. Anyways, and this is very depressing. So 58% of PC gaming revenue came from microtransactions in 2024. This is very, I didn't want to look more into this. Like, what does it actually mean? Like, because it's so depressing. Because microtransactions, I don't think they should even exist. Like, maybe there's an argument to be made for them in few edge cases, but generally speaking, like, no, microtransactions not good. And shame on people for giving companies money, like rewarding companies for these sort of practices. And Shadows of Doubt, the detective simulator game, they are forced to censor their game. So yeah, with new off-duty update coming on April 22nd, you will have the ability to smoke. Unfortunately, due to age restrictions on consoles and other non-Steam PC platforms, this feature will only be available for the Steam version of the game. We are, however, looking into possible alternatives for these platforms. We apologize for the inconvenience and hope to still see you on the case. So yeah, no hate for the devs, if it's not much they can do about it. But it's just insane that basically you can't smoke. Like, you can, there's people where you can butcher people, or have sex with Abby and all sorts of horrible stuff, but no smoking is too bad, too far. Like, it's ridiculous how like they made a mountain out of a molehill with smoking. Like, back in when I was a kid, you could, like, they didn't get, like, if a child happened to see somebody smoking on TV or something, it was like they weren't like, oh my god, no, no, the child is gonna be ruined. And it's like, it's insane. Like, yeah, sure, you can say smoking is bad for you, but ultimately, if adults want to do that with their bodies, then they should be allowed to do it. And especially, like, yeah, this is a detective game. It's smoking and detective is part of the like the cliche or the trope or whatever. And Civilization 7, the fail, the garbage latest Civilization. Supposedly they have VR instead of actually making the game good and functional, or I don't know if they have actually made it, but it has VR. Like it's just like okay, I do admit I am slightly curious. I'd like to try it. Like I doubt it won't be as good as with keyboard and mouse, but it's and yeah, somebody said that looking down with that headset on your eye, and when you play Civilization, you usually play at least like 4 hours in one sitting or something. So it's just gonna make your neck very hurting. And Civilization isn't the kind of game like if you play a first-person shooter or something, VR will add something to it. But this is fucking board game. You don't need VR for something like this. So it's a completely pointless gimmick. But hey, I am still curious. Like, I'm more curious about, wanting to try Civilization 7 now than I was before because, uh, well, basically the only reason why I'd want to do that is why I wanted to try it again before is just so I can say honestly, like, why it's bad because I'm pretty sure it's bad. But I haven't played it, so theoretically it's possible that I am mistaken. And yeah, and speaking of games that are as bad as well, this is apparently Assassin's Creed Shadows. This actually seems like fun. Just look. He still keeps going. Yeah, okay, this is hilarious. But yeah, that was the last story. I don't know. So this game might actually be so bad it's good. But yeah, I don't have much else to say. So yeah, I wonder what's gonna happen with 4chan, and I don't know. The games industry just keeps getting worse and worse, and hope to see the Epstein files at some point. But I'm heading out. I'm Adventure Argonaut. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.